Good day, people, and welcome to Retroversy. Today we're looking at the game Earthbound, the second game in the Mother series, as we discussed last time. But before we start, check this out. Aw yeah, we've upgraded. The game revolves around 4 kids: Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh. Yes, that's really his name. Yep, just laugh about it. Get it out of your system. Soon enough, it's going to be as natural to say as Solid Snake is to most people now. Anyway, they have to travel around the world to stop an alien invasion. Hey, doesn't this sound a bit familiar? The game sold like moldy fruit when it hit the US, and this has been largely attributed to the weird ad campaign named "This Game Stinks," derived from the weird humor of the game. You see, Nintendo Power printed a barf monster and a big scratch and sniff field that reeked, saying that this game stinks. It didn't go over well. And along with relatively poor TV ads, the game didn't catch on at all when it first came out in 1995 in the US. It has since then gained a huge cult following, and some popular games in recent memory draws heavy inspiration from this 21 years old game. Now, guess when it first came out in Europe? Late 95? 96? No, 2013. And is only on the Wii U Virtual Console. Miracles do come true. First with Earthbound and then with Earthbound Beginnings. We just need one more miracle to come true, and then we'll be set. I'm hopeful, and I guess that's because I believe a dream can still come true. Why shouldn't I believe the same in you? That was a terrible joke. Anyway, like in the last game, you have to name your characters, your favorite food, and so on. But this time, they added more stuff for you to customize. We're talking favorite thing, what color you have on your menus, and so on. It's actually really nice. And every time you hit accept, you hear this little voice clip. That's actually Shigesato himself being recorded in secrecy by the music composer Hirokazu Tanaka, who thought it'd be fun to have Itoi's voice in the game. It's since then become really iconic, so good move, dude. In fact, Hirokazu Tanaka is more known as Hip Tanaka, and is the man behind a lot of memorable Nintendo music, like Metroid, Kid Icarus, Mario Land, Dr. Mario, and more. Guy has done a lot of stuff. He even took to performing at dance clubs under the name Chip Tanaka. Seriously, I can imagine it. As our story begins, you wake up to a loud noise. It turns out that a meteorite has hit the hilltop just outside your home in Onet. So you go check it out. Immediately, this game is kind of creepy. The music is unsettling and there are sirens in the background. Something's up. After creeping your way up the mountain, you meet Pokey, or Porky as he's really called. Yeah, they kinda missed the point when they localized this game. It'll make sense in the third game, I promise. Nothing special really happens here. You see the meteorite, and then you go home. No biggie. Except that later that night, you get this really creepy knock. It's loud and really unsettling. This honestly got me really freaked out the first time I tried it. I played it in the dark, and it was actually really scary to me. Turns out, it's just Porky who wants you to help him find his little brother, Picky. You agree to go out and help look for him. Suddenly, there are enemies outside. Porky's all mouth and no action at all, so it quickly proves himself completely useless. I mean, even your dog is more helpful than he is. Though I will say that it is pretty funny imagining him just playing dead at the side of Crow. Even a crow such as this guy. Just look at how friggin' cool he is. He's just loving life, sipping on a pina colada and grinning like an idiot. I love it. After finding Picky, you are suddenly approached by Buzz, a bee from the future. Oh no, don't worry. I'm just joking, he's not actually a bee. Well, oh, you think this is weird? Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, trust me. Anyway, Buzz tells you that in the future, Geeg, the alien we defeated in the first game, has undergone a name change to Gygus, destroyed the world, and that his influence is what messes up the animals and the people, just like in the first game. He then tells you that it is your destiny to save the world along with 3 other kids. Suddenly, you're beset upon by a Starman, one of Gygus' main henchmen. You're powerless to stop him, but it turns out Buzz is really powerful for a tiny bee. I really like this guy. As we deliver Porky and Picky to their parents, we get an incredibly unsettling scene. Porky's mom scolds him badly for staying out late, but the father? Oh, he takes the kids upstairs and violently beats them. Then comes down and tells you how sick he is of your face and how they live in poverty because of you, even though they were just out in an elegant restaurant and didn't even bother to get a damn babysitter. Jeez, what a terrible person. What terrible people. The mother even says he's too lenient with the kids. What? She then kills Buzz, mistaking him for a dung beetle. She's also needlessly graphic about it. I'll smash your guts out. Jeez, poor Buzz. In his dying words, he tells you that you must visit the 8 Your Sanctuary locations that will help channel your powers into the earth with the help of the Sound Stone. This is also very reminiscent of the first game, because here you also have to go around the world looking for 8 different locations to collect 8 pieces of a melody. As he dies, we get a quick look into the humor this game has to offer. He will repeat his final words to you as much as you like in case you missed it. It's just one of the many jokes this game has to offer, and on top of that, it's kind of a dark joke. A character is dying, but the game turns a joke into it. As we leave the house, we're greeted with a familiar tune. Wait, what? No, that's not Pollyanna. They began playing the Pollyanna tune before they sneakily switched it to a different song altogether? Oh well, this one is about as catchy as Mouth Herpes too, so I'm not complaining. As you make your way home, you're greeted with a weirdo photographer who comes spinning from the sky and just asks you to say fuzzy pickles, and then he takes your picture. This guy will show up everywhere throughout your journey, and is honestly really lighthearted and nice. See, that's what this game does. It goes to crazy dark places, like domestic violence, police brutality, corrupt politicians, crazy cultists, and then just shifts tone completely and goes incredibly happy and never references the dark occurrence again. If you play it, or you have played it, you know what I'm talking about. It's incredible just how much dark and depressing stuff you can get away with if you just coat it in a happy layer of paint. Happy layer of paint. Itoi confirmed for Bob Ross. Anyway, that's it for the story introduction. From here, an amazing journey awaits you, and you go all over the world, from Eagle Land, this world's representation of the US, Winters, which is supposed to be the UK, and even all the way to Buddha's Dalam and the scorching lands of Egypt. I mean Scaraba. It's a great time. By the way, do you know how I know that Winters is supposed to be in the UK? I mean, apart from the pine trees and the friggin' Stonehenge? I know, because Winters is in Foggy Land. Yep, pretty accurate. Where else could it be than the UK at this point? Hit the nail right on the head there. Speaking of spot-on representation, these graphics are just awesome. Everything is so vibrant and happy. At least when it wants to be happy. Whatever. I love how every city and area you visit comes to life with the pixel-perfect sprite work that the Super Nintendo was capable of. People, cities, game corners, everything really works here, and it really helps sell the atmosphere that you are in an actual modern setting. Cars are driving around, not every house has anyone in them, and not everyone is as friendly towards you as people always are in other RPGs. It seems really realistic in a strange, fantastical way. You really feel like you're just a kid in a relatively happy suburb, living a carefree life. Until you get a grim reminder that you're out there to stop an alien. Suddenly the mood changes, and things get creepy. But I still love it. I also love these enemy designs. Look at them, they're so cool. You've probably noticed the battle backgrounds by now. They're quite different than the backgrounds in Earthbound Beginnings. I have no idea why they're here, nor why they're this trippy. But yeah, it's much more interesting than any other battle screen I've ever seen. Now you can get your LSD-induced highs for free. Musically, good old Chip Tanaka has done a fantastic job with composing the music of this game. Seriously, it's absolutely fantastic. I could listen to the soundtrack for hours. In fact, I already have. As I mentioned earlier, they're incredibly catchy, and because this is the era where the game musicians had limited tools to make their music, what they actually made had to be so pleasant to listen to in loops, and it had to be catchy as well. Nowadays, we have orchestral music and stuff that fit a scene really well. It's a real seller on atmosphere, but you don't remember any of it because it's in the background. Here, it feels like the music is as much of a main attraction as the graphics are, and even the music gets super trippy whenever the game does. My favorite track is probably the main boss theme. It sounds like something out of Depeche Mode. Funky. Just like the previous game, this one isn't too innovative with its gameplay, but there is still something here. It's a pretty standard JRPG in terms of pure gameplay, with only a few interesting breaks from the norm. Firstly, you can always see the enemy on the overworld, which is always really nice, and you can even gain the advantage in battle depending on if you manage to sneak up behind it, meet it head on, or it gets you from behind. It also has one other interesting thing going for it. If you take a mortal blow, you can still come out of it on top. The HP counter is actually rolling down with each hit you take, and if you manage to get away, heal, or otherwise end the battle before this hits 0, you're actually left with as much HP as you had on the counter when the battle ended. This makes for some exhilarating and frantic moments of gameplay as the counter goes down and you're just panically trying to remember if it was life up or healing that would save your characters. As you level up, you'll get more and more powerful psychic abilities, like PK Starstorm, nowadays more known as the final smash of Ness and Lucas in Super Smash Bros. Or PK whatever your favorite thing is according to what you said in the start of the game. Unless you're Jeff. He doesn't have any PP. Probably because he wets his bed. Get it? No PP because he wets his bed? Jokes aside, Jeff actually spends his nights fixing broken items, and these items turn into things only he can use in battles. Like a bazooka! Sweet! This game gets progressively harder as you go on. Of course, like what game doesn't? But don't you hate it when you have to go back to previous areas and the enemies there are incredibly easy but you have to fight them anyway? Well, not in Earthbound. You're overpowered? Game automatically one-hit kills your enemies. One-hit tames your enemies. And you still get the same item drops and experience points as you would have if you had fought them normally. That's really nice, actually. So, I've been gushing about the game for a good while now. Is there anything I don't like about it? Well, I'm glad you asked, because while it is an incredibly well-made game, it isn't completely perfect. Some parts drag on just a little bit too long, like the stretch after the first boss and until you get Paula, your second party member. And for some reason, there is not really a lot of interactions between the main characters themselves. At least not until after the game is over. This is actually a bit strange to me, considering the first game had a lot more of that, even culminating in a very cute scene at the top of a mountain. Another thing I don't like too much is that it feels like a rethread of the first game, with almost a complete one-to-one analogy between the characters. Ness is Ninten, Paula is Anna, Jeff would be Lloyd, and Pooh is just complete shit. No, I'm just kidding. Pooh isn't at all like Teddy, so that kind of breaks the analogy. But it's still about 4 kids traveling around the world trying to save it from destruction led by the same alien in both games. It must be said, though, that the story still manages to feel unique enough that this doesn't become too much of an issue. But I still feel like the setup could be a bit different. Other than that, there really isn't too much to complain about. Sure, some may say that a lot of the items you get throughout the game are useless, but that's actually part of the humor of the game. Like, the ruler doesn't do anything except waste a turn on a pun. One of the strongest aspects of Earthbound are the different characters you encounter throughout the game. Many you encounter several times too, like the friendly but super strange species known as Mr. Saturns. Their unique font is actually based on how Itoi's daughter's handwriting used to be when she was just learning how to write. The villainous characters of the game are exceptionally rotten, and you will grow to absolutely hate them, but in a good way. While the citizens of any town you visit are genuinely interesting and unique, like this dude who quizzes me on the Beatles. Good times. And hey, what about Tony? You really can't forget about Tony. And this guy? He totally looks like Satori Wata. Aw, now I went and made myself sad. Oh, I really want to tell you guys more about this game. Like, I had an entire bit on the ending of the game, and how incredibly creepy, trippy, and overall amazing the entire game is because of it. but I really don't want to ruin it for you. Maybe I'll cover those things in another video some other time, but this video is not it. So, how does Earthbound hold up today? Are you kidding me? In the past, I've played Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Mario World, Yoshi's Island, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Star Fox, Mario Kart, Mega Man, and more! But I still think Earthbound actually has become one of my favorite games on the SNES, if not one of my favorite games in general. I really recommend you pick it up if you think this sounds like something for you. Hello, and thank you very much for watching my silly video about Earthbound. If you for some reason aren't completely tired of hearing my voice, you can also check my other Earthbound Beginnings video right here. But until next time, have a nice day.